might create some shadow. You may have a tendency. Hello friends, how do you handle a situation where you wanted to paint but you don't have a good reference? I think we all land up in that situation. I often land up in that situation where I wanted to paint but I don't have a good reference that makes me happy. So in such situation, sometimes I go for an approach of doing something from imagination. So how do I start? I thought I will describe that process to you so that some of you also may find it useful. You could probably try it out and then you may find it helpful. So what I do is I just make some drawing, just without thinking too much. Maybe it's a recollection of something you did earlier, or something that randomly flashing into your mind. Just make some drawing. Okay, so maybe some sky and water. I really do not know. Maybe piece of a shore. Maybe some big trees. Okay, these are just my thoughts. Okay, and maybe some distance things at the back. Okay, what else? Maybe a boat here. Maybe a couple of boats here. Okay, maybe some people here. I'll make it little taller. Maybe the board is shaking because I am applying some pressure here. Okay, so yeah, this could be a simple watercolor scene. Maybe another idea could be that maybe as a similar idea without much of change. There could be something else. Maybe just few boats. Okay, and maybe something at the far distance. Maybe some trees here. Maybe some reflection here. Okay, and in fact I'm not very happy. This area looks little blank, and I might often go for a tree that is cutting from this side. Okay, there could be a tree that is popping up from this side, and this might create some shadows also here. Okay, so these are all some different ideas. You can probably it's a flash of ideas, so the more you practice, the more you will get these ideas, right? So as the next step, what I would do is I would think whether this is going to work or not. You can imagine these things in color in your mind, in your mind's eye, and you can see, you can try to visualize and see if this is gonna work or not. If you think you can do it on watercolor papers, if you still have some element of doubt, probably you can pick a sketchbook and then probably do that. Okay, so let us try one of these on a piece of on a sketchbook. Okay. I am taking a sketchbook now, and this is 7.5 by 5.5 inch, right? This is from an Indian brand called Colorum, and this has a rough surface. It is may not be a pure watercolor paper, but it takes a little bit of watercolors to some extent. A lot of layering may not be possible, but this can serve the purpose of watercolor sketching at least. and this has, the other side of this is smooth, but this side is suitable for watercolors. So you can pick up any sketchbook that is available with you. In this specific one, I am finding a couple of watercolor papers. I think 2 watercolor papers are also 300 GSM and 440 GSM. Others are just sketchbook papers. And this thing is this kind of sketchbook you can use, or if you are convinced that it will work, probably you can do a proper watercolor on a watercolor paper, right? Now here I am just going to do a study, and let us see how it gets developed. Since this is not a watercolor paper and it can buckle or warp, so I'm going to put tape at the 4 edges, and then we'll proceed. Alright, I have put some masking tape at the 4 edges. I wouldn't have done that if I am just doing it. If I am not recording it, probably I wouldn't do it. But since I am recording it, I am little concerned about the buckling and the image getting properly captured by the camera. So I have put tape at the 4 edges, and it is we have to decide which one we have to pick, this or this. Maybe I will pick this, right? So let us do some, try to copy that, or if you have some other idea, better idea, you can go for that also. Something at the far end, maybe a little bit of a shore here. Okay, if you want to modify, you can modify. Okay, there is something here, and there is a reflection. Okay, and there are a couple of boats. Maybe I'll make the shore little bit this side, so that these boats are on the floor, on the shore. Okay, and there is another boat. Okay, don't worry about the precision. And as we discussed, there is some kind of foliages peeping up on the left side. Okay, let us try to apply watercolors. Let us go for a sky now, and what I am going to do for the sky is I am using some little bit of ultramarine blue. It's in fact French ultramarine that I am using. I am using a brand of watercolor called Camel, which is an Indian brand. Okay, I'm using French ultramarine and just trying to make some sky. Okay, it's not very, I don't want to make it a very continuous flat sky, so I'm just leaving some whites. I'm pressing the brush a little hard and getting some whites left out in the sky. Okay, and maybe I will also add some other colors, some rose sienna and orange or some other color, just to get some sort of an atmosphere to this. Okay, don't worry too much. This creates sort of an atmosphere. Maybe some darker sky, little purplish darker sky. So these are some ideas that you might get on the way. Okay. You may have a tendency to keep modifying, but avoid that tendency of giving a lot of details. I think I am showing some of those tendency now, but I am holding myself. And let us also do the water. And since water is a reflection of the sky, basically, initially we will have the reddish kind of water, then we might go to the blue. So initially we may get this slightly purplish sky. and then we'll go for the blue, little bit of blue. I think these are just the common sense that we may apply. Okay. And to get some of these shores, maybe we can go for some sand color, maybe some burnt sienna, little bit of burnt sienna. Let us see how burnt sienna alone works, and if it works okay, I'm leaving some space for these boards. Usually I don't worry too much about those things. Let it enter into the water a little bit so that we may get the illusion of, I'm mixing a little bit of this sky color, little bit of a blue color too, so that we get an illusion of maybe wet water here. Okay, I think we are pretty much done with the sky and the water, and I'm just seeing if it is dry enough. Since it's a sketchbook, it gets dry fast, so I am taking some of these colors, which is nothing but a mix of blue and maybe some of this burnt sienna and maybe some of this red. Oh, this one too dark. And let us make some far end details here, some kind of a foliage. Okay. We have to ensure that the top edge of this is a little straight. So I am shifting to a smaller brush, which is a synthetic round brush, because I'm not getting proper control on the edges. Okay. And I am cleaning the brush, dampening it, and maybe I'll try to just drag it here so that some of these colors might fall down and might create the illusion of some reflection. Okay, that's it, and I don't want to spoil it too much. See, you don't have to be precise. Now let us make some foliage here, which should probably match with this kind of a color scheme. If you make it very greenish color, it may not suit well. So let us make something of this, again blue. Okay, burnt sienna, blue, burnt sienna kind of a color, and let us create some far end foliage. Okay, so it is far end, so I don't want too much of details here. I'm just using the side of the brush and maybe even my finger to do a little bit of smudging. Okay. And let us go for some, I think we need to go for a little bit of a reflection. So I'm making some of this color again, and let us make a little bit of reflection here. See, and again, this is just an idea. So if it doesn't work, we can always go for some other ideas, no problem. Okay, so it is perfectly okay if it doesn't work. Okay, we need to decide what should be the color for the boat. I want some kind of a contrast with the boat color. So maybe I'll go for little purplish boat, maybe a little bit of violet and maybe red, some red and maybe violet. Okay, and let us make this boat first. You should be a little careful, this is very small. And for this, let us make it one brighter color. So maybe I'll use some red and orange. So I had to be a little careful. Right, now let these things have some darker tones in it, more darker tone, it is purple. Okay, so let us so that it has some kind of a volume. And for this also I am mixing red and little purple, violet, and for this also there will be some darker color. Now let us go for this kind of a foliage here, and for that foliage I think we need little darker tone. And for the darker tone I am using, I have a tendency to use whatever is the left out color. This a little bit of purplish color was already left out. I am using little bit more blue. Okay, maybe little bit of red. Okay, I am making it purplish, and I'll leave it at this point. Okay, and let us make some foliage. Actual tree trunks are not seen here, so but the foliages. Okay, just some big volumes using the side of the brush, and you don't be very serious when you make trees. Okay, if you make it as a very serious thing, then you will always fail. Just make some kind of volume of foliages, dark volume, and maybe some thin edges. I think that much is sufficient for the volume now. And okay, using a liner brush, maybe we can create some branches within the foliages are better convincing if you also attach some branches to that. So I am using a little bit of burnt sienna and ultramarine color, and I am using a liner brush, which is also called as rigger brush or scribble brush, people call it differently, and just try to connect these branches. Okay, some of the, just for interest, I am creating some branches outside. think that's it for the branches. And what we need now is some amount of shadows and maybe a couple of people. And I'm using a little smaller brush now for the shadows. Maybe I'll use a smaller round brush for the shadows. For the shadows again I'll use whatever color I have used for the foliage, similar kind of a color. A little bit of a blue and purple brown kind of a color, and here some whites are left, so I think I will cover that with, see, if the trees has to create a shadow here, the light should probably come from somewhere from the left side. So I am trying to suggest that the light is coming from left side, and this might come little this side. And for this also, same kind of the concept of shadow. Okay, don't worry too much this about the shape of this and all. Now some dry, little bit of thicker brushwork, burnt sienna and blue, some thicker brushwork maybe to show some amount of the top of this, maybe some part of the other edge maybe of this boat, and maybe something to connect this boat. It's always a good idea to connect the sky and the land, so I'm just trying to do something there. And for this also you need shadows. Whatever object you create, you need shadows. Okay. This went little too big. It should have been little narrow shadow. Okay. Yeah, I think we are pretty much done, and let us create some figure. Okay. For the figures, you make the torso. Okay. I'm just making a red figure here. Some darker tones. If you are interested, I can create a video for I can create a longer video for the figures and then put it in upload it. It may not a smaller video may not be sufficient for teaching how to create figures and all, so you may need a longer video for that, or maybe a series of videos. Another person here maybe. Okay. One more person maybe doing something with the boat, something around the boat. He's doing something in the boat. Okay, there could be something here on the boat. Okay, and there may be, see, I have a tendency to keep adding figures, so there may be maybe another guy who is facing maybe the other side of the boat. He is bent a little bit and doing something here. Not sure. what he is doing. I think little bit of shadows for this tree, maybe that will add more value. It will make it more interesting. It will make it a little bit more interesting. This is sort of done, and to clarify some of the edges I will use pure watercolor white. Okay, this is watercolor, not gouache. Little bit of that, a little bit of pure pigment on the brush, and I'm just trying to add some clarity to these figures, and maybe this ball. Okay. You have to do it very carefully. My brush have some strands damaged, so it is creating a little bit of trouble, but I think that is overall fine. And we are pretty much done with the watercolors, and let us see how did it come overall. Okay, so I'll take out the tape. Alright, so this is the final work, and I think we have achieved a reasonably good result. And if you think this is interesting, you can take a watercolor sheet and make a larger version of this. Okay, so hope this video was informative to you. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. I will try to clarify. And if you are looking for some specific this kind of tutorial, you can let me know. And certain subjects I don't do, like the florals and the botanical steps and the portrait, I don't usually do. I do the landscapes, streetscapes, and these kind of waterscapes and some waves and those kind of things. So if you have any doubt, please do let me know. We will see in the next video, and bye bye until then.